be interesting. I'll keep you guys posted anyways on how this setup follows through. If there's any updates within the next few minutes, I'll let you know.
Yes.
But I guess Tiger, I'll hand it over to you to sort of give us an overview on the Forex markets.
Yeah, sounds good. Just go ahead and share my screen real quick. Let's go ahead and do this one here.
Whereabouts are you from, Tiger? Sounds like you're Southern American accent to you.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm in Kansas City, but I grew up in Tennessee.
Kansas.
I grew up in Tennessee, so that's where the twang comes from.
Tennessee.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah.
Don't you have a cowboy hat there somewhere for us to show, Tiger?
What's that? Sorry?
Don't you have a cowboy hat, or is that more like Texas?
Oh, I do, but it's just one that I found. It's not one that I paid money for.
I see.
Yeah. No, I never got into the cowboy hat type thing. Yeah, that's a little too much. Yeah, before I get to Forex, just real quick on the gold. So yeah, I had recognized this daily demand zone way back here on May 30th. And within that daily demand zone, I had this 4-hour demand zone or order block. So there was one point where I missed the first entry on it because I was sleeping. I was telling Richard and them the other day, and it flew all the way up to that overhead supply. But then when it came back, it just barely dipped in. So I don't normally like to take mitigated demand zone, buys or sells for the supply zones, but I did this time. I did that just because at the time on my fundamental and sentiment algorithm, it was giving me a bullish score, a bullish bias, I should say. So I went ahead and took it. Ironically, yesterday it fell off into neutral territory, but again, this morning, gold has actually jumped back into a bullish bias, according to my fundamental reports. And I think what was that report? I think the GDP report's partly what helped that. Because this is now the third month in a row for negative GDP growth. So for the U.S., that's not looking too good. So yeah, I think that, I just look at it to overall help the gold a little bit. But yeah, like you said, Walter, I'm definitely looking for a pullback. It has come back. But yeah, I bought in right here, had a nice little move up, and then we're getting that pullback like what you showed just a minute ago. Yeah, and you said you took your buy off of this zone here, right? The 30 minute. Like in this area, I believe.
The most recent, the most recent one in the London session.
Yeah.
Basically.
Go ahead and pass that real quick. Father, in Jesus' name, we just pray that you help us with our trades today, that you help us with our mind, that we take smart trades, that we do everything for you. Thank you for your assistance yesterday and helping me with the FileMaker stuff. And breakthrough. Yeah, there was some breakthrough moments where I was able to focus, get things done. But in any case, help us with today, help us get going, help us with work, rest of the week, after work, the challenges that pose life and whatnot. Just get rest. Everybody rest and stay safe out there. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's go. Let's make this trading happen, folks. Let's get going. Let's make it.
In the very bullish territory, that's the euro US dollar. And then I've got 6 cross pairs that are in bullish territory. And this again is from the fundamental and sentiment perspective. So I got the euro Aussie dollar, the euro Japanese yen, the New Zealand Japanese yen, the Swiss Japanese yen, and the euro pound. So basically looking to sell the Japanese yen, and whichever one of those currency pairs hits first, I'll probably go ahead and take it.
We are trucking along right now.
It'd be nice if all 3 of those dropped into a demand zone at the same time, but
we're just gonna worry about the 15 today.
I'll just keep the risk on one pair. I don't normally break it into multiple currency pairs if the same currency hits a zone. Some people do dollar cost average in on multiple currencies. I just prefer to keep it to one. So if I'm taking a look at the euro dollar first,
we're going to go
order
the strongest pair. And I usually start with a dollar zone on a dollar time frame, Walter, on the right, and then a 4-hour on the left. I'm more of a higher time frame trader. So I like to look.
See, we're $16 ahead today,
which I think is going to be a great addition to the channel, because I know most of you guys are more scalpers or more shorter term intraday, right? So, but yeah, ultimately, if I don't see a setup, then I start drilling down into the smaller time frames. I just feel more comfortable in the higher time frames. So, Yeah, looks like I need to go ahead and adjust my Fibonacci levels here. Now, currently, and this is what I was showing yesterday. So yesterday, I think price was right around this area when we were on stream.
Right
so it
before
was
that red candle
touching this kind of double
down
top,
to
if you
here.
will, forming a triple top. But then after
What
the
was
stream
our
and throughout
low?
the rest of the day, it just kind of pushed upwards. So
My
original plan was for price to drop down into this area and
bring
kind of
this up
bounce
real quick.
around, kind of contract
So
into
I
a
think
contraction
our
point,
low
confuse
is
traders,
here.
have
Boom.
them fight it out. And then I wanted to see price kind of move up to trick them into buying. They're going to obviously put their stop losses down here, and then the big banks drop it into my 4-hour zone. So collect this liquidity, but also collect the unfilled orders and push to the upside. But since now we've got price up here, so now I'm looking at this area with interest that I was that we were at yesterday. So, you know, if I'm kind of updating this for today, I would like to see price, which I know it might be a little tough because the GDP report was quite negative for the dollar. However, I believe the unemployment claims report actually was good. Let me take a quick look at my calendar here.
Yeah, the unemployment claims numbers were 236,000.
Yeah. So there we go. I mean, they
10K less than forecasted.
less than forecast and less than the previous release. So that's good. So, I mean, who knows? Those could kind of cancel each other out, or it may we may just get some volatility until the buyers and the sellers step in and claim it. So ultimately, I'd like to see, hey, maybe the unemployment's claim, maybe that's good for the dollar. So I'd like to see price drop, and then maybe the GDP kind of take over. So if that's the case, going back to my chart here, then yeah, I'd like to see price, my projection tool, just kind of come down, maybe go sideways here, collect some liquidity, come down, hit my zone for a buy to the long side. So that's essentially what I'd be looking now, and I'll just delete the old news there.
So
but yeah, ultimately, if we get a further retracement, then I still do like this 4-hour order block quite a bit. We had a very strong exit from that point, created Richard's favorite, the fair value gap. Pretty strong one at that. So yeah, that's all. And this is another zone, I think, on a 1-hour time frame. Not really important as far as trading for me. It's actually on a 30 or no, shoot, what is that? 15 minute, 15 or 10 minute, something like that. But either way, it's a smaller time frame. I'm just more interested in the higher term or the higher time frame zones personally. But yeah, ultimately, if we get price here, I want to look to see if we get a engulfing candle or something with a nice tail on the bottom, get a nice VSA spike, volume spread analysis. If it fails that one, if I don't get the trigger candle, then we'll just stair step down and see which one ultimately hits. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Since we had a good and a bad report for the dollar, so it could just look like a earthquake telemetry machine for the day, right? Just up and down, up and down. So I'll just ultimately look to take whichever one gives me a good 15-minute candle. Next on my list is the Euro Aussie dollar. I know we kind of talked about that one yesterday. Yeah, not a whole lot's changed. It's just kind of went sideways on the 4-hour time frame since yesterday's stream, but ultimately, yeah, looking to drop down into that 4-hour demand zone, which is also on top of a 61.8 fib level. And then, yeah, so really not a whole lot's changed on that. Again, on the higher time frames, it's just kind of went sideways. I mean, if we drill down smaller, it is telling me there's a demand zone within this area. But what I don't like about it is we didn't really have a very nice looking fair value gap at all coming out of there. But not only that, I got wicks on top of all these candles. So that's a lot of selling pressure. So, I would probably not want to see something come into the zone. I wouldn't want to buy if it comes into this area, in other words. So I would just basically ignore that block, that demand zone. So yeah, ultimately, same thing holds true from yesterday. Let's just get something like this, come down into this area for potential buy to the long side.
Stop filled.
Euro Japanese yen. Let's go find it over here. Yeah, kind of a similar picture. I mean, this one is trying to tell me there is an order block forming there. One thing I love to see with my supply and demand zones is, like, obviously my order block indicator is telling me that there is a zone there, right? Well, ultimately for me to qualify a supplier or demand zone, I want to see it break a former supplier demand zone or a former top or a bottom. So in other words, if this zone would have continued above all this noise over here and then closed before coming down, then that would qualify it, in my opinion, as a good zone to buy. Does that make sense? So
no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So because it wasn't strong enough to push it through that disqualifies this as a zone for me personally. I would use it if it were a take profit target, like if it were on the other end, right? If I were short selling as an example, then I would obviously look to take profit or just, lock in those gains. But as far as placing a trade, I'm not interested in that. So for that reason, yeah, I would definitely want to see a deeper retracement into that zone here, which I believe that's a 1 hour or 30 minute zone. Something like that. Let's take a look here. I guess it is a little smaller. 15 minute. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the 15-minute zone I think we looked at yesterday, Richard. So yeah, because one thing I like about it, like I mentioned yesterday, I mean, it's got a really good volume spread analysis candle. I mean, look at this yellow candle right here. That's the exit candle. It's a decent, I mean, if we zoom in, it's a decent fair value gap coming out of that. But I do love the gusto that it left the zone with all that volume. So smaller time frame, 15-minute, that would be a pretty good entry point for me there. Go back to my 4 hour here. Okay, so I got that, and I got that alert set there as well, I believe. Yeah, okay. All right, so that was Euro Jap. Stepping on down again, whichever one of these Japanese pairs hits first, that's probably going to be the one I look to take. So next on that list is the New Zealand Japanese yen. All right, go ahead and scroll that out a little bit. Scroll. So yeah, just above the 61.8 fib level, obviously from this low to this high. I do have a zone in a smaller time frame, 1 hour. I think that one was 1 hour 30 minutes. So it's a little bit narrower than I like. I like to have zones, especially because I'm on a little bit higher of a time frame. I like to have a zone that's at least like 30 to 50 pips in range. I don't want to be trading on the higher time frames in like a 10 pip zone.
Yeah, in a tight zone. It's pointless.
Right, exactly. So give me something.
That's a recipe to get chopped up.
Yeah, it is.
All right,
it
let's see what's
is.
going on
And that's
now.
why I like currency
happening?
so much,
What's happening?
because it's
What's
just
going
easier
on?
for me to measure. I think that's one of the big things, among many reasons. But yeah, I mean that's.
All right, so we've seen opening happen
I did make
here.
some of these zones on smaller
Started
time
dropping
frames.
here.
It's got to be a 10 minute.
We're still within the
So yeah, 10-minute zone. So yeah, I mean if I turn off my order block tool, last red candle before the big spike up.
Nice.
Oh yeah. All right, so that is the New Zealand Japanese yen.
Tiger, before you jump
Yes,
to
sir.
the next one, we've got a few questions here on the side.
Yeah.
Firstly, James, I remember his beautiful face, Oxys FX. How's it going, James? Robert's joining us again. Good morning, Robert.
Morning, Robert.
We've got a question here from Isem and the Universe. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Just
SE
a
and the
quick
Universe.
question on the side. So she's learning about SMT. So I assume you're saying smart money techniques.
Money techniques, yeah.
ESP, OB, what's it? Opening breakout, fair
Opening
value
range.
gap,
Opening order block.
order blocks. There we
Oh,
go.
okay.
Order blocks and fair value gaps.
Fair value gaps, yeah. And I would like to ask if I can see some of them on the past charts, but not on live. So do you have any suggestions? Yeah, I mean, Walter, you could probably show a little bit later on Bitcoin. When it's my turn as well, I do use fair value gaps, smart money techniques, or timing, as some might call it, where I look for a divergence between, in my case, the NASDAQ and the ES. But we will get to that. I just think let's quickly have Tiger do his thing. And yeah, if you're still around, we're more than happy to show you and steer you in the right direction there.
Perfect. Yeah, I got just two more and then two short sell opportunities that I'll get to. But those are going to go real quick because they're the low ATR ones. So I probably won't touch them, but it's still good examples to show everybody. So,
all right. So what is our bias
Swiss
today?
franc,
What do
this is the last of the Japanese pairs.
today?
I'd be looking to sell the
I think
Japanese yen
everything
on.
is pointing up. So
I did put
think
two
I
different
want
sets of
to
Fibonacci
say my
levels
bias
in
is
this
going
to
be
look for
short.
some
I hope I'm
confluence.
right. We do
From
have the
this
new moon phase
from
so
this
at
point
any
down
moment
here
we
to obviously the
believe
top,
that
but then I actually zoomed in
go
a little
down.
more.
we have
to
this.
this low
We're
point
gonna
here.
try it,
is what
man.
was
I'm
the
gonna
top.
try it.
And when I
don't care.
did that,
I'm trying it.
I had the 38.2 level from the bigger zone,
All
or
right, so
from the
now
bigger
we're bouncing
fib
here.
level.
I think we are
Also line
this
up
is
with the
last
61.8 level
minute.
for the smaller one. So I'm just looking at it kind of from a couple different time frame perspectives. But yeah, I've got a nice demand zone hidden underneath
So I think
there
we're
in a smaller
probably
time
pretty
frame.
good
So
there.
that's
I'm gonna
another
bust
good
this
one. And I
out
actually
to
drew this
the
up
30.
yesterday.
I think that's
So
the range
same
that we're going to
thing.
be
I mean,
in.
I want to see
and I
price
think we'll
come
be
down and
okay.
kind of go
We'll go ahead
sideways. I
and
just
switch it
think
if
that's
need
important.
be.
Like, I mean, obviously, if price were to come straight down to the zone like that, then I would still take the trade. I would just be real careful about it because ultimately, I like to see the liquidity manipulation happen. I like to see
Like, I'm
price
not going to go ahead
sideways
and do all the
because
other
buyers and sellers, the retail buyers and sellers, they don't know what's going on. So they're just
like the
going to
daily
look
high
at
and low.
whichever direction it leaves first and
on
just
this
tack
side, on the left
and
side.
then they're going to put their stops below.
I have it on
that.
the right
So,
side.
ultimately, I'd like to see them manipulate price
take
up
too
and
much
then
time.
back down because then the big banks
I'm doing
again they're going to collect the liquidity.
All right, so it looks like we're starting to
they're gonna
bounce up
collect the
towards the
stop
top here,
losses,
towards the middle. Now we hit the middle of the zone
from the
here.
retail traders, but
We
they're also going
are
to come down and
past
collect these
the
unfilled
15,
orders, which is just just textbook for me.
Since
So
we're on a sell,
come down, hit that zone, and
bias, I'm
then
probably
buy
gonna
to the upside. So
hit up to here.
I don't know. That might be a little smaller of a zone than I like. It's pretty close.
Try
What's that
and
about?
maneuver that situation
Take my
here.
little tool here.
I do want to get
23
onto
pips.
my
So that's cutting it
actual-
close for me. I don't really like to go down that small. Again, like I've mentioned before, I prefer my 4 hours, or I prefer a 4 hour zone within a day, just to provide that confluence. But again, I'm trying to go down to some smaller time frames because I know that's what Hola Prime wants. So, but yeah, I mean that's basically what I'd be looking for the Swiss franc. It's not directly on those confluence fib levels, but it is right below. So if I could get a little wick into it, then that'd be a great place for me to buy, assuming I get obviously a bullish candle coming out of it on a 15-minute time frame.
Then it hit
so
my TP, then went.
we got the
flying up,
euro
came back
pound.
down. Maybe my stops are too close.
This is another one this is one of those that's a low ATR, as you can tell over here on the right. On a daily, it's only a 37 pip range, but I still like to keep an eye on it. Again, when it comes to these low ATR pairs, I'm not saying I'm not going to trade. I'm just going to definitely take off some risk. So that's just my taste. But I do have a really good zone right here because look how strong that fair value gap is coming out of it. That tells me that it left with gusto. There's a lot of interest right there. Plus, we did have some pretty good VSA candles forming there on the bottom here. So yeah, just updating that. Yeah, just have price come down, go a little bit sideways here, up, down, bang. Textbook. That's textbook for me. So that's it for the bullish pairs. It'll be real quick going through these bearish pairs: Aussie dollar Swiss, Aussie dollar New Zealand, because again they are both low ATR, so they're not in my interest level. They don't really excite me that much, but still, I mean, I did have a pretty good 4 hour supply zone overhead here. It is bearish, as you can see. It's kind of stepping down. It's kind of a slow grind, but yeah, ultimately, I would like to see that bounce up into that supply zone and buy to cover right before that 4 hour zone, because that 4 hour zone is also within a daily zone. Again, that's the confluence I'm looking for if I'm trying to buy in that zone. So,
so it's
definitely going to get out of it. You know, if I were to go short it up here, definitely going to get out of it down here. That's definitely going to probably give it a good turn upwards. So, and then last one is Aussie New Zealand. Yeah, I think we're still pretty much in no man's land here. Just kind of choppy. This is the kind of stuff that chops people
jumped in
to
way
pieces.
early.
So, that's very choppy.
Early.
Yeah. So I'll probably leave it alone. Again, it is giving me a bearish this.
I'm jumping in early on this
yeah,
account.
it's just entertaining to look at that. No thanks, no thanks. That's like jumping into a garage full of knives when you're trying to hide from a tornado. So
tumble dryer with knives. Yeah.
I mean, that's a very geographic specific example right there. But
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever experienced a tornado before. But if I do, I'll know not to run into a garage full of knives.
Yeah, I live here. Well, Walter, I live in Kansas. So we have tornadoes all the time here, and we ain't scared of them.
Thanks, Tiger.
I can imagine. If I see one for the first time, I'm telling you, man, I'm shitting myself because I'm just like, I don't know what to do in this situation. That is coming right at me. I'm from the UK originally, but I'm in Indonesia. Okay. So the worst I've experienced is earthquake. So I've experienced a bit of an earthquake out here, but again, like nothing crazy. Just a bit of a wobble, and then after that, everything was good.
You probably get they call them typhoons there. Is that right? Or
typhoons, yeah. I mean, typhoons is worse off in like Hong Kong area and Thailand as well. They've got really bad typhoons down there. But in Bali, we had like a really bad. We had a bad period of wind like about 2 months ago. So bad it smashed my glass fence. I've never seen a wind so aggressive before.
Yeah.
The first time experiencing that, but yeah, not like tornado level.
Well, one of my best friends lived in Florida, and obviously they get hurricanes all the time. But he said that like we would freak out thinking about being in a hurricane here in the Midwest because we don't have them. But he said, yeah, whenever they have hurricanes, they have hurricane parties. So they just load up on beer, load up on food, and they'll just sit there and jam their music and scream at the hurricane as it comes in. I'm like, you guys are crazy.
Well, they're probably the ones
that sounds just about America. Exactly. Those are the guys that chase those tornadoes in a car. Well, guys, it's coming around. Let's go. That's like you're going in the opposite direction, my friend. You better go that way, away from it, not towards it.
Running straight to it. Got to get that video.
We'll see a breakdown. If you could see over here, I want to see a breakdown
right, guys, I'm going to quickly share my charts here. Looking at the NASDAQ. We're coming down, right? So during the London session, price
that's
made
happening.
3 drives to a high. Took the London session high, and then we've had this decline. This long-ranging black bar here was the 8:30 a.m. news that came out. Probably those GDP quarter-on-quarter numbers. Price moved lower and has continued to do so until now, right? So we are seeing a little bit of a downturn here on the NASDAQ. Again, I'm only looking at a 5-minute time frame here. So in the bigger scheme of things, obviously the indices are still really, really bullish. If I have to quickly just address ESIM and the universe's question, I like using fair value gaps. I mean, there's a lot of material, even YouTube videos available about fair value gaps. There's sometimes a bit of...
All right, I think we're in a good spot here. I think we're going to truck that down as far as that goes.
Differences between what makes a really good fair value gap and what doesn't. But it is basically a 3 candlestick formation. I'll just quickly go through a example of a fair value gap. Whereas you, for example, have a candle, one candle, you have generally a very long-ranging candle. In this case, it's a bearish fair value gap that formed here, or bearish candle here. And then after your third candle formed, and this can obviously happen on any time frame.
We're back in. We're back in,
There's a fair value gap that formed there between the low
and we're going to see what happens right here
after the close, so the high of the third.
I believe in it.
Obviously created by
this what we're doing. Do you believe in what we're doing, or what you're doing? What you're trying to learn? Well, it doesn't even have to be trading. I just want to know that you believe in your goals, in your life.
Anything new? It's just recently, if you look at a lot of YouTube videos.
Tell me what you guys got going on.
ICT concepts seems to be a hot topic.
What
in any case,
have going on in your
these
lives?
fair value gaps typically
that's a good
revisited.
Question. I know there's nobody here, but
unmitigated
let me tell you, I'm going to start with mine.
Act as support or resistance, right? So if I have to get out
my goal right now is to go ahead and
drawing tool here. we had this fair value gap that formed after that long ranging candle to the downside. Price moved back into it, and we had a rejection bound downwards again. Okay.
Just in case anybody's
now,
actually
another
in
concept.
Here. Boom.
And especially what I like to look at if I would like to potentially,
like what my goals are. My goals are to become a
assuming that we might have market manipulation, or
and the reason I want to trade
we have a
for
liquidity run or liquidity sweep, as some might call it, or liquidity sweep or grab.
And I want to be able.
And I would like to see a fair value gap that formed to the downside. Let's assume there was one over here. There is
I really enjoy
one at the moment. But
I need to find a way not to be tethered.
Let's say we get a sweep of a previous clusters of lows. Could be.
But I really like golf. I do want to have a golf simulator. So what my plan, my goal in life,
then
right now,
if the fair value gap
become a profitable trader,
because
to trade for a living.
You
like I would love to be able to trade the morning or whatever it is to be able to make enough money to survive and live life. And then after trading or whatever setups that we've got going on, is that I would love to have a golf simulator set up, and then we would play and stream that.
Right. So those are
looks like we might be pushing through this.
Happen all over the show.
We're gonna go ahead and
just trading fair value
watch
gaps just
this
because
here.
The fair value gap occurred is definitely not the right thing to do. It's for me, and I'm sure you guys will agree, it's where these fair value gaps occur. Let's say after an order block's been hit,
may or may not. We
price
may or may not
away
break
from it. Fair value gap.
Into
then cool. You can maybe
the top. So I think we're gonna. This is a concerning situation here. I know that these is not the best in the world.
Then I think it's a bit more powerful, or a bit more useful as
we are tapping here.
I use it as an entry zone, or area of interest that I want to get long or short. But that's generally a good indication of a reversal, sometimes a continuation, right? So
order submitted.
I don't know if you want to add something there, Walter. What did we miss here?
This.
Then SMTs are smart money techniques, right? Some call money timing. What I like to do with that is here on TradingView, go to my compare button because I like trading in the NASDAQ, and I'll add.
And now that's looking like it's. Oh, we can't do that.
Like the SPX, for example, since I trade CFDs here at Hola Prime, right?
Oh, can I do that here?
It's just not visual.
That's awesome.
Not showing up. So this pink line here is spreaded on top of my NASDAQ chart. Now, a very typical SMT technique or strategy would then to see if there's divergence between these two highly correlated markets.
I don't even know what's going on right now. We're having an influx in volume
all that sort of stuff
right now.
But when they typically trade in the same direction.
I think we might be good for that buy right here.
When you get to some instances,
this is our other account. So
where the NASDAQ, obviously on the price chart here with these candles, are making lower lows, you can start seeing here on the ES, which is these pink lines, it's making slightly higher highs.
I'm going to go ahead and
so it's moving
sell
direction or diverging from what the NASDAQ is doing. And if you want to see this, let's say you trade the SPX or the ES, and then you might want to spread the NASDAQ against that. I know some guys use the Dow as well.
Order filled.
Stop filled.
I prefer using those two. On the Forex side of things, maybe you can help out with that, Tiger.
Stop filled.
I know the guys like using...
It's usually Euro Dollar and DXY, or Euro Dollar and Pound Dollar.
Dollar Kiwi. That's the other pairs that they look at. So very often,
one-to-one,
just go and try to do this on your charts. If wherever you're learning this from, or maybe just start viewing our techniques and how we trade here more often. Visually, it takes quite a while to get this in your head, right? But obviously, also very important, like you said, go back on your charts, maybe spread a highly correlated market versus the market you want to trade. If you trade the NASDAQ, like I said, spread the ES against it, and then if you believe that, let's say, a liquidity grab or sweep or run has occurred or whatever you're looking at, then go have a look at the SMT. Then do you have at that area or that levels that's been run an SMT that's popped up. And quite often they do lead to strong reversals, which could potentially be what we're seeing here at the moment. Before I jump, I'm not even going to look at crude oil today because I'm angry at crude oil. There was a really
why
good
that? Because it ended up going up, or because you missed the good.
Well,
you missed the move.
I got into the
upside?
trade when was it with you guys, Tiger, the other day, and I just got ticked out on a stop loss, and then it just reversed and it ran. In my
Oh goodness!
So be it. I'm just trying to find. Yeah, you see yesterday here during just before lunchtime on the NASDAQ. Let's go to a 1 minute time frame. Sometimes it will be more visible on a shorter time frame or on a longer time frame that you're actually executing your trades from. I like using the 5 and the 1 minute. We got a clear SMT here.
2, 5,
so it was around about 10:15.
Actually, I think
Eastern.
that's a great
You can
range.
see here that the NASDAQ was making low lows, low lows, low highs, lower lows. It ran the AM session lows. And although price didn't go to new highs, we did get a move to the upside here. And you can see here clearly that the NASDAQ went up. It made one more low below this low from 10:15. And you can see on the ES.
Target filled.
Let's
Order
go.
filled. Divergence.
We're killing it today, man. I
think
love
the
it.
best I can explain
Love
what, as far as I understand SMT is and how it potentially can be used trading the markets or giving you some sort of an idea if a reversal might be
All right, so we did hit the
in the
top
mix
of the
or
orb.
whatever.
So you're kind of like RSI divergences. That's kind of the same concept.
Yeah.
Let's go. We
RSI divergence.
So that is
looks
the
at,
goal. We'll go back
having
to gold
price
talk
on
real
the
quick.
same- on
I
the
think we
same
might just be chilling,
currency
hanging
on
out,
the same chart.
not doing much.
Whereas SMT
but anyways,
divergence
that
looks
is
at
the
having
goal,
price on
for
two
me.
different markets, but they
Eventually
are related to each
is to
other,
go
so they
ahead
should have
and
some
become
form
a
of
profitable
correlation.
trader
So
enough
they have like a very
to
strong
do
correlation
trading
typically,
for a living
but then there is some
financially.
sort of
And then
divergence
what I would
in
like
the lows
to
and the
do,
highs.
you know, and
that's an
just
SMT
get
divergence. But with RSI, you're
enough
simply
to be able
comparing the
to
highs
make
on the same currency.
enough
On the same
where I
chart.
can invest
I
in
just
some
meant the
REITs,
same concept. You're looking
some
at.
other investments where they just
it's the same
like
concept.
that also
Gotcha.
ties into
Yeah,
some
Richard, I
income,
gotta say, when it comes to fair value
where-
gaps, it's
look at this.
interesting.
where I
What's that?
can
No,
have diversified.
We're probably going to
incomes,
see price move up now. So
diversify those.
clearly, while I'm explaining this SMT that's happening in real time, we have seen a very nice jump to the upside. See that? Whether price will not continue high or not, I don't know. But there is a nice big currently, and I think we've still got 4 minutes to go. Potentially a fair value gap. This is this green
I'm gonna check it for some
box you see there, or the zone
news this week.
that is currently forming. So this SMT here on the 5 and the 1 minute.
Pending home
So if this
sales,
candle can
pending home
close,
sales. We do have some natural
and we
gas
still have
coming
this
in at
fair value gap,
7:30.
then I'll be interested
We
in
hope that does
going long
help us out there.
the NASDAQ.
What
Ideally,
trades do we have in? We have a
a
crude
little bit of
oil
a deeper
trade
pullback
here
maybe to
that
the
looks like we
midpoint
might
of
just get
that fair value
bricked
gap
right
will
now.
at least then give you
I'm going to go ahead and
half-decent
sell
risk-reward
that
ratio
on our
towards
FXE.
the pre-market highs. If that makes sense.
Actually, one of the things that we want to check out is our
So let's give it
our
another 3
FXRK.
minutes. And if
Account.
we do get that, I'll go ahead and go place an order. Here's also a classic example, although I was not concentrating on this. Remember, I was talking about that bearish fair value gaps. Oh, very small. That gets inverted off the price run in
We
area,
have our JPY
strong move to the
going the
upside,
opposite
and the
direction
S&T
right now.
that was obviously forming while all this was going on.
Now, do you have parameters, Richard, on how big or small you want to see that fair value gap?
You know, some guys would say, you know, fair value gap's a fair value gap. I prefer to see at least a decent size, you know, so you have a bit of a buffer. Because you know how often those very small ones just get penetrated, or you can't. Where do you place your stop? Generally speaking, if you want to go long, let's say at this fair value gap, you can either place your stop at the low of the candle, first candle of the fair value gap. But if, let's say, fair value gap only occurred here, where this was the first candle, second candle, then a third candle, then you can go ahead and place your stop at the low of that first candle. But in this case, first candle of this potential fair value gap is the actual low of the sequence. But target wise, not really good risk reward ratio, right? So price will need to come down quite a bit. So from a risk reward ratios perspective, unless you assume price is going to continue higher, which it might just do, and just aim for a 1 to 2, something like that. Or switch to the 1 minute time frame and see if we have a few fair value gaps a little bit lower down. This this is just ridiculous, a fair value gap. I won't even consider that
in a microscope.
So visually, obviously, you need to also let me get practice here. A little bit of how can I say common sense,
discretion. Yeah.
So a strong reversal there, guys. I would like to go and place an order, which I think I'm going to do. I'm going to open my execution platform, switch to that 5 minute
22
time frame. Obviously, 28. I can go spot where that fair value gap was. I'll probably want to get a little bit lower down if that is a possibility.
Real quick.
Not to say I'm going to get folded, because now it looks like price is going to spike upwards from here. Let's call it 22330. 22330. Place a limit order.
E8 we did. FXI we did. I think we have one.
That's sort of in the middle of that fair value gap.
We do not have one
so
on that.
That 5 minute candle just closed, so we do have one there. Stop's going to go.
We've not done it on our PaidPex
right at that low,
yet.
And I'll go for a 1 to 2 ratio.
Trade in yet.
In this case would be about.
We have not on FTM.
What's it, 112 or something?
Not on Prop 365.
I'll figure this out with the risk reward meter on this platform in just a while, but that's about the setup there.
Okay.
And then I'll go place it by limit order, and hopefully get filled.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how it goes.
That's good. Let's go. Let's see how this plays out.
Let's go.
Richard, I was just going to say, it's interesting how versatile a lot of these indicators are, or just different techniques, like obviously with the fair value gaps, because where you're placing the trades in it, I'm placing the trades below it to catch those unfilled orders, but they both work, because I can't tell you how many times I miss a trade because it'll come down to that fair value gap, and it'll just go in the direction I wanted. So it just needed to come.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it would just not, just fall short of it, and then that's it. It is what it is sometimes, right? You can also go and chase.
You can't catch it all. Yeah, you can't catch it all.
And you got to make peace with it. So
yeah, it's just interesting to see the different ways the same thing can be used.
Yeah, here's a trade from a couple of days back. Hopefully I can show this properly without this platform giving me issues. Literally took a trade here, just got ticked out. I think it was by 2 or 3 pips, and then we had a very strong decline downwards. But anyway, crude oil is running sideways at the moment, so there's, for me, really nothing to do there until price breaks out of this range it's been in for a while. So that is my analysis, guys. I don't know if you want to show us your Bitcoin charts, Walter. You haven't shown us that yet. And if you do get, obviously, I can come back to this, and then I'll give you an update a little bit later on.
And just a bit of, just in addition to what Richard was saying to ECM, because I see in the question you also said, like, you can see it in a past chart. So I guess what you mean is, whenever you're doing your historical analysis, you can see it take place, but you struggle to see it in real time when it's happening. and that's fine. That's normal. Every one of us has sort of been there. So the main thing is you need to teach yourself to actually identify these structures. And for me, the best way that I did it was I created flashcards. So like when I was studying order blocks and all these things, like I created flashcards with my setup and what I'm looking for. And again, like with all these things, it's important to interpret them within context. So if you want to learn about what fair value gap is, the question is, what context is most appropriate to use a fair value gap? If you want to learn about order blocks, the question is, number one, how do you identify an order block? And number two, what is the context of which an order block would actually be a reactive area to buy, sell from, or take profit? And when you learn about context, then that's how you begin to create a strategy. Once you've created a strategy, once you know your setups, then you teach yourself to identify your setups. And I did it by doing a lot of flashcarding, a lot of forward testing as well. So where I'd go back 2-3 years ago, and then I'll sort of like, forward play buy by bar. And you can do that on TradingView. So you can use like the bar replay on TradingView. There is also another platform called FXRK, and I know that other Prime is doing a promotion right now where with one of their accounts, you also get free access to FXRK as well, which is pretty awesome because that is like one of the best historical forward and backtesting platforms for forex traders or just generally for traders right now in the market. Well, for retail trading, anyways, for institutional trading, there are other platforms that one can use. So that's my recommendation anyway. So FXRK, TradingView, bar replay, which you need to pay a subscription for. Those are sort of the best two tools to have in place for your forward testing and back testing. But yeah, I've shared my screen now.
Yeah, please do.
Meanwhile, we did have home sales report come out that beat expectation.
Did they? Did they not have that yesterday as well?
This is more of a medium impact. But yeah, forecast was for 0.2. Last was -6, and then today was 1.8. So it'd be
pending on those. There you go.
Yeah, the market doesn't feel that. It's like, No.
Yeah, it just shrugged it off.
It just sort of shrugs it off.
Whatever.
So with gold, I'm actually, I placed a trade on this actually a few minutes ago. So when I said I placed a trade, I mean I placed a pen order. So I placed a sell limit at the. Oh, you can't see my trading screen. Let me just share my whole screen as opposed to just a trading view. 1 second. Okay, there we go. All right, so it should be off now.
Why is it not coming up? I'm clicking. There we go.
All right, so the pending orders placed at the bearish order block, stop loss goes above the high, and of course, like in this case, I'm now going for the daily low 124, and I'm going to tell you why. So if you remember earlier when I said the only reason I'd go for the daily low is if the market already has interacted with this prior order block. And that's pretty much, so after like I finished my explanation and I handed it over to Tiger, a few minutes later, price came in, tapped that unmitigated order block and mitigated it. So now for me, this zone has gone from like a red zone, right, to a green zone, right? So meaning like it's now a zone that for me there isn't going to be a lot of resistance for price at this zone. So whatever price needs from this area, it's already taken from that area. So we do see price coming back down to this area. I'm anticipating for it to essentially break outside of this range and potentially head down to that daily SST because besides this, there's really nothing else stopping price from getting to the daily. So at this point in time, because price has now tapped a high volume area, I'm anticipating price to pull back and tap another high volume area to the upside. So obviously from sell side to buy side before running back down again. Hence why I'm anticipating the market to trade into this bearish order block. Would be even better if the market were to trade a little bit deeper and retest this sort of like this higher block that was created just before New York opened, but hasn't been retested yet. If the market retests this, for me, like this will be better because that presents a much better risk to reward ratio. So that's what I'm looking at on gold right now. So I've placed that first pending order anyways, anticipating a pullback into this order block at some point within the next hour. And then for Bitcoin, Okay.
Nice.
Now, my thesis on this still stands. So remember last session, I basically was bullish. I said that I was basically, this was the setup I mentioned, basically bullish from this unmitigated. So it's two areas of interest, right? So the first area of interest was the recent order block that was created there. And I was like, yeah, but I also anticipated the market to potentially retest that low order block as well. So a nice sweep down into that lower order block. Market tapped it, mitigated. So exactly what's happened here is what I'm keeping my fingers crossed would happen here.
Check what happens
in gold. But yeah, so price tapped into it and then gave a very nice run to the upside. And we saw that price went straight from that daily sell side. So if I go to the daily, it's a lot more obvious. It went straight from that daily sell side to that buy side, so that swing high that I identified as the next target on the daily in only just 3 days, right? So within 3 days, so the first move basically took back 80% of that range, and then the second and the third move cleared the range entirely. So at this point in time, what I'm now anticipating is a move back down, and I'm just going to reiterate what my longer term my longer term, I have a vision for Bitcoin. My longer term view on Bitcoin is in terms of like sort of what I'm anticipating. So I understand anyone that talks about Bitcoin, they always want to say buy, it's going to go up, and it's going to go create all-time highs. I'm not that kind of person. Like, yes, I'm a big believer it will create an all-time high
Order
filled every single year,
We're gonna go
but you
for
also
that
need to
sell.
be sensitive to the
Then we're gonna go ahead
timeline
and
and to the
take it all
cycle
the way
that Bitcoin
down.
tends to do that, which is typically
to
from like sort of like end of the year,
2532.
November, December,
Actually,
towards
like
the
this
start
right
of
here.
the year. And then within the first 4 or 5 months of the year, once it's created an all-time high, it tends to trade away from that all-time high and trade below it up until the next bull cycle again. So at this point, right, on the weekly time frame, right, it's pretty evident, right? The price is obviously recently taken out an area of buy side, which is obviously above this prior high. And then thereafter, we saw the market trade into this fair value gap, which is an area of sell side liquidity pool. Simple as that. Now, after that, what I'm anticipating is for the market to go for buy side again. Now, the next target that last session I identified as where I'm like my final point for price to get into for buy side
don't take out our profits.
110
Come
to around
on,
110,845. So essentially what I'm anticipating is the market just to push just a little bit higher, right? Might even take out the all-time high. If it does, even better, create a new high. But after that new high has been created, I am going to be like, I'm anticipating Bitcoin to sort of give some sort of reaction to the downside. The reason being is because, again, price is given this expansive leg. At some point, so the market is like an elastic band, right? It will contract, it will expand, and then it will contract. It will expand, and then it will contract. And the contraction is usually to a medium. So what I like to call equilibrium. And that is usually the 50% of the expansive range. Like if you take a look at what Bitcoin did in the past, right? We saw this previous expansion, right? What did the market do from after it expanded? It contracted to that medium point, that 50% region, and then it expanded again. So what I'm looking at is exactly the same thing. So again, we see this most recent expansion. Where is that median? That median is down here, right? Where this fair value gap is. Okay, so again, what I'm anticipating is now the market has expanded. We're seeing sort of the end of that expansive phase where sort of momentum is now dying out. There's now prices now in a period of accumulation. You can see this is a very clear period of accumulation, right? So like with the rule of accumulation, the market will take out buy side, sell side, and go for sell side again. Buy side again. So in this case, I'm anticipating the market to give a big push towards buy side. So this is going to be that final exhaustive phase of this expansive range. And then thereafter, I'm anticipating a big slump to the downside as the market contracts to find some sort of median within that range. And that's going to be that 50% point, which right now, the price level for that is $93,185. So I am anticipating a big decline in Bitcoin at some point over the coming months before much more sustained expansion to the upside. So hence why right now, this move that happened was a very nice move. And I'm anticipating a slight push, just slightly higher before from there, some sort of a decline to the downside. So in terms of New York, because of course, all this is like higher time frame stuff, right? So are we going to get a trade opportunity in the next, let's say, few minutes? It's possible. It's very possible. So this is what I'm looking for right now. So I'm actually short intraday. So intraday I'm short. Today's a sell day. The reason being is because yesterday we had we've had three consecutive days of buy days. We've had 3 days of the market given closing at a higher price, and usually that is followed by a big sell day. So either today the market contracts, doesn't go anywhere, and then tomorrow we see the big sell-off, or today we see some sort of a sell-off, and then tomorrow we could see a potential continuation to the upside.
Order submitted.
My target for the sell-off was essentially this initial low. That's my first target.
Order canceled.
Secondary low as my second target, and the daily buy side up at the market. So if you remember,
order filled.
A major level, it will sometimes retest that level. So that daily buy side of the market broken above, I'm anticipating the market potentially come down to retest it. So the market has now taken out the first key level, which is at H1 sell side pull, right? It is now forming a relative equal low at that second level. And now it's pulling back. So think of it like a gun, right? You use all the bullet, you have to reload. So right now, market is reloading, it's going back to reload at an area of liquidity that is like a significant area. So what I like to look for in this is two things. Number one, where is the most recent order block? Number two, where in the market cycle are we on the 15 and the 30 minutes time frame? Well, under 30 minutes time frame, we are still in the beginning. We are looking
sold one
at
there
and
it decided it wanted to
so
come
we've
down
seen
there.
that initial break of
Good
structure
for
down
them.
here. This is, again, every market is different. That's why it's like I'm a very big believer in studying 1 or 2 markets, mastering it, knowing how it moves, because every market moves differently. But Bitcoin has a very, very high tendency of, after giving it a break of structure, it will most likely go and tap that high, that recent high. Or after giving it a break to the upside, it will go and tap that low before running in the intended trend direction. So it's pretty much happened. It's a very classic Bitcoin move. It gives a break to the downside. It goes back up. It taps that recent high that was created, and then it trades back into the range. So what I'm now waiting to form here is that second leg. The second leg forms after the market forms a swing low in the next 9 minutes. Once that second leg forms, for me, this gives me that big thumbs up that, okay, now we need to position ourselves for the bigger move to the downside. And this is going to happen when, so if this were to happen, and if we were to get into a trade like this, I would want to get into a trade like this from a key order block. So this is the most recent order block that was created.
Order submitted.
On the 30 minutes time frame. Again, there's a lot of confluence here. Order block there. We also have this massive fair value gap right there as well. Right. So again, and this is a very balanced market. So between where price is at this low, right? The next area of imbalance in this range is right here, right? So there's nothing for price to sort of take. This is a very balanced market here. So what I've anticipated is essentially the market to trade back into this range. So trade into that first order block, trade into that fair value gap, into an area of imbalance to mitigate this range. And that will be the perfect opportunity to sell. Right?
Order filled.
So essentially, if that happens within the next hour, I'll be looking to be a seller at this very short order block, stop above the high, and then this is not going to be a massive trade, because again, for me, the real move is to the upside in the
order canceled.
It gets to sort of like 100,000 and maybe higher than that. So this downside move,
all right, whatever.
A corrective.
We're negative 44. We were doing great.
Did you say 1 million?
It's okay.
Like they all say.
Let's see what happens right here.
My kids are gonna have kids by the time Bitcoin gets to $1 million.
You know, all we want
it will go
to
there
do
eventually.
is...
You'll be grandfather Walter.
Exactly. But by that time, my grandkid will be like,
break even.
Granddad, guess what happened today? I was like, what? Really... Bitcoin hit $1 million. I'm like, oh, really? I remember when it was at $100,000. Damn.
I told you.
I mean, that's when all the guys that are like, it's gonna get to $1 million. They're gonna come out the woodwork and be like, I told you so. Like, yeah 80 years later.
10 years ago. But I didn't say how long.
No one ever does, right? It's like the guys that say, yeah, gold is gonna get to $10,000. Yeah, we'll get to $10,000. I agree with you. But it's like, it's going to take probably another decade for it to get there. It's only just about got into 3,500.
We need to.
Just like the Nikkei, just like the Nikkei in the 90s. People were at a high point. It's going to keep going. 10 years later, it finally goes higher.
It finally goes higher. You were right all along.
Like silver.
But yeah, I like silver as well.
Yeah, Yeah, me too.
Wait 1 second. Let me just there we go. So yeah, so with regards to this, so this is the setup we're looking for, right? So a sell from the order block. I'm just aiming for a 1 to 2 on this. Again, nothing crazy, just right below that daily BST, because the market will probably like just come down slightly. Again, measured moves. If we look at the fact that this leg was overextended, if we consider the market could move a similar distance, then that measured move would take the market sort of like somewhere down here, right? So for me, this is like a safe range to get at 1 to 2 reward on this. So that's what I'm looking at with Bitcoin. So short term, I'm
now
short.
I hit the top
but
here.
over the next few days, I do see a very strong possibility of a bullish continuation into 109,000 and potentially even breaking above that. We could see Bitcoin traded to 110. Will it break above 130? Look, here's the thing, right? Like I love history because history always repeats itself. Like if you look at when so it's down here. Like, this is why I never think all-time high would always be taken out, because it's not always going to be taken out when you think it will be. Like if we look at this, right? So this was when Bitcoin. I remember this happened when Bitcoin hit 73,000.
Order filled.
And it was like, and then I remember it did exactly
We're
what it's doing right
guessing.
now, where it accumulated for a bit, right? Accumulated for a bit,
No.
and then it eventually started coming back up towards that
We're
74K,
guessing.
that sort of like 74K mark, and then it came and it took out this prior high. Right
lots
now,
of
at this
buys up
point,
here.
I remember this in real time because
Probably
this
not
happened
the best
like only last year.
situation.
A lot of
there.
traders, a lot of people on X, on Twitter, were like tweeting like Bitcoin is about to break above 74K. Right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, it didn't, right? Because what happened after that is it immediately slumped and went down to what? It went down to 58K, right? It went from 74 to 58, at which point everyone's like, it's not going to go up higher. But then what did it do again? It came back up again, right? It came up and it took out this intermediate high. So there's an intermediate high right there. Bitcoin came up, took out that intermediate high. Again, a lot of traders are thinking it's going to break 74K. And then what happens? It drops even lower, right? And it came down to like 74K. And a lot of traders got liquidated. Everyone's like panicking, like, okay, crap, Bitcoin's at 54K. It's probably going to go back down to like 20K again. This is what a lot of people are saying, right? So never ever think that just because price is inches away from the previous all-time high, it's going to break above it. Like, it's a very it's just not the right way to think about things, right? So just because price could potentially take out 90, like when for example, let's say you're a day trader like me, right? I was going long, right? I'm taking my profit at 109. I'm not looking to take any higher. I'm not holding my position, keeping my fingers crossed price is going to break above. Because why? Because I know like the way Bitcoin it behaves in the same way every single time. It could very easily take out 109, and then after that we could see a big slump back down towards sort of like 98K, and then we could see price sort of like trade in this range for a bit before the next move to the upside. So yeah, just something I just wanted to quickly touch on.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Richard, I like how he does that with the fair value gap within the order block or the supply zone, as I call it. That's where we would both get into the same the trade in the same area, even though we're kind of looking at
so a nice confluence of both for me is always ideal.
Yeah, no, I like that.
A+ setup, as some would call it.
Exactly, it's an A+, a fair value gap within an order block.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All
right, so
beautiful confluence.
Guys, some comments here from Robert.
Robert
made a comment on that where I got stopped out he got stopped out in 1 cent. I think Robert trades the NASDAQ, if I'm not right. And then price, obviously, Murphy's Law hit his take profit afterwards. Yeah, that happens a lot. And then he mentioned,
I think this is, I'm gonna place this pen in order now on Bitcoin.
Yeah,
because I think it's probably gonna come up quite fast.
Robert, maybe just a little bit more of a stop loss, maybe a little bit more wiggle room. Because if it's going in your favor, you're picking the right areas. That's a good thing. That's the way I see it.
Exactly.
Why the wiggle room reduce?
Sometimes we just got to give it a little more wiggle room. So spread that risk out on the stop loss. But you're on the right path.
All right, so you place limit order there. Let's see. Hopefully you get filled. Hopefully it works out. But if it doesn't, that doesn't matter either, right?
Exactly. I'm more interested in gold coming back up. The thing is, because I trade gold all the time, like Bitcoin, every now and then I'll take a trade on it. I don't always take a trade on this. I really got to see something really, really nice. But with this is my bread and butter. But with this, because it's so easy for me to track and follow. So like, for example, like, okay, today is a sell day, tomorrow's a buy day. Like it's easy sort of for me to get a feel of it. But the bigger move today is to the downside for sure. But then again, like what I found is, like, let's say something like this happens in New York session, right? I'm sorry guys, if you predominantly like to trade gold in New York, because most of the time you either get in leftovers or you'll get in the beginning of a big move, or you don't see the big move in New York. Price could potentially just accumulate, and then tomorrow morning when I wake up, Asia morning, that's where we could see the market tap into that area of interest and then give that move to the downside. It's very like, it's every once in a while that I might take a trade and wake up and then see that, okay, that trade ran a lot. But a lot of the time I might take a trade in New York, I wake up and my price is still around my entry.
This is supposed to be 5,
you know, it's like 8 hours of me, like, well, not 8 hours, 6-7 hours of me sleeping, and not much has happened.
Is that all?
So
That's 7 hours.
Yeah, 6-7 hours. I don't like to sleep for too long. I like to be up at 5:30 to go for a run and start my day before turning on some charts.
Yeah, good habits.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, I do have the pound dollar on my watch list now. Richard, I think Troy asked the question yesterday. If I've got a neutral rating on something, if it's like a 0 or 1, it's slowly going up to a 2 to a 3, even though it's not a 5 or higher for my bullish. Is that something that I would have on my radar? As the day went on, I realized what he was trying to ask. So, yeah, I know he's not here, but to answer that, yes.
Order
so
canceled.
Like British pound, US dollar, for an example, is
but Tiger, maybe just pull Walter in what you do there. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, so I look at trading just from I start with the fundamental analysis and then the sentiment analysis, and then the technical is the last thing I do. So if I don't have a good reading, on a collection of the recent reports, the GDP, the unemployment, the interest rate, all that, then I won't even look to trading. So for me to pass the test, if you will, to get to a bullish bias or very bullish or bearish, very bearish, I just want to see more of those recent reports in favor of that currency.
I think we're still within a decent range to not just
bad,
go
kind of
like
neutral,
ham
I'm just
on
not interested in it. So I try to look at it from more of a fundamental 30,000 foot view.
How do you weigh the reports? Like, what do you put more weight on? Inflation,
see what happens
interest,
here. What time is it?
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, it would probably be easiest if I just showed you guys.
I forgot. Did we have
not affiliated with us at all?
Did.
So
we probably got some really bad.
But I'm also not affiliated with them, so I'm just going to kind of cover up the site, and I think it'd be easier to explain. So let me just share my chart. I just don't want to get in trouble. You know what I mean? Share screen. Let me just share. Okay.
Order submitted.
And wait for that.
I'm definitely going to bust you.
Order submitted.
Okay. So anyway,
order filled.
So yeah, so I'm looking at obviously the sentiment, the technical, and then the economic data. So on the sentiment side, obviously the commitment of traders report, retail traders, seeing what they're doing, seasonality and trend for the technical, and then obviously for the economics, it's the GDP, the inflation reports, the retail sales, the PCE, unemployment, employment, interest rates. So essentially, if the COT report has favored the euro dollar, just as an example,
order
more
submitted
so than the US dollar, then that'll give the COT a score of a 2. If it's given it, if it's only given one favor, like maybe the big banks bought heavily on the euro, which clearly they did,
order submitted
a score of a 2. And I do know that they got rid of longs on the dollar, so that essentially gives +1 for the euro, -1 for the dollar, which equals 2. Am I doing that math right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you see a 1, like the retail position as an example, then it's favor. Then one of them is basically the retail traders might be trying to short the dollar. Well, they're trying to short the US dollar, the euro US dollar. That's why it's given a +1, because we observe the retail traders observe
Order
the
filled.
Order filled.
Right. So it's looking at that. And then the same for all these. So essentially, if it's a positive report for the base currency and it's a negative report for the quote currency, then it's going to give like a -2, like this one here, just as an example. If they just kind of cancel each other out, it's a 0, yada yada. If it's then obviously it's 1. So anyway, I look at the aggregate of all the reporting, and all these get added up, and it gives me a score. So euro dollar as examples give me a very bullish score. So the example is -4 to +4 is neutral. So it's just not a currency pair or whatever that I care to trade. I've gotten rid of the neutral, and I'm only showing actionable setups. So that's why I've got just the bullish and the bearish. So yeah, essentially this is how I pre-qualify all the currency pairs, the indices, the metals, everything that I trade before I even look at the chart. So
right.
I just thought it'd
so
be
what you want to look for is alignment with the fundamentals, and then you look for, of course, for the technicals that align with the direction. So for example, if pound dollar is bullish, then you're obviously going to be predominantly looking for a bullish technical lineup with that.
Yeah, and this is why when Troy was asking me yesterday about silver, I think it was shorting it in the interim, because it was on a more of a downtrend on the shorter time frame. That's where I was saying, well, I look at the fundamentals and the sentiment, so I don't want to go against that sentiment. I recognize on a technical level, obviously, it would be good to short
trade
in
for
the short
a living.
But
then we will go ahead and
anyway, without giving away too much, because I'm not affiliated with them at all. I just thought it'd be easier to show you guys this screen. So that's essentially where I'm getting my bias.
Stream also Golf Simulator.
So anyway,
which would be actually pretty helpful during times that we're waiting for alerts to happen. I think by the time we get to a point, we're gonna have like different strategies where we have like alerts for certain things.
I'm just gonna go ahead and get off.
We're gonna have our scalpy. We'll do our scalpy stuff in the morning.
Here, we'll just take a quick look at British pound.
Unless an alert pops,
yeah,
and then
overall long trend up. Now it did bounce into an overhead daily supply zone. Now it has been mitigated, but it's still an area of precaution for me. So don't necessarily want to go and buy, anytime soon. I just want to see a little bit deeper of a retracement. So obviously on a 4-hour time frame, the nearest demand zone is right here. It's also we also have this former resistance point, almost a double top in the past, which has created that liquidity area there. Price did bounce through that to collect that.
Then we'll get out on the course, obviously.
Shot back up.
Go ahead and take you guys out on the course.
Anyway, yeah, I'll just wait and see what price does if it does return down to here. But ultimately, I like this deeper retracement on the pound dollar because it's also hitting that 61.8 level. So, yeah, since we've been on the stream, that's changed from a 4 to a 6, and now it's officially on my watch list.
Nice.
Very dynamic.
Tech news events tomorrow. Any core PCE price index. I mean, out of the US though, not much.
Right. Spanish flash GDP.
How's Bitcoin going there, Walter? Is it nearing your zone?
I'm triggered in now. Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah, so in that trade now, prices made a very big
Order
move.
filled.
Stop fill.
So now we're gonna see are we gonna see a reaction? Are we gonna see that sort of rejection back down? That's the question. Usually moves are fast, so whether I get stopped out or whether it comes back down, it's gonna happen very fast as well. That's why I love Bitcoin. It doesn't leave you waiting around.
So you have that as a limit order, is that right? You had that as a limit order?
Yeah, so I had it as a sell limit order, right? That's right, at the order block. Yeah, so I always execute as a limit order, always.
Especially how fast it moves, right?
Exactly. Because if not, it's easy to like miss it and get a bad price, if you're trying to market execute.
Yeah, I got the
and then gold is still sort of waiting. So you have the luxury of what?
I have the luxury on the higher time frames of waiting for confirmation, but on the smaller time frames, definitely you don't have that time. So you just got to get in.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But then it's like even on the 15 and the 30 minutes, Because the way that I plan my trades is like I never try to rush a trade out. Like my average risk reward is generally a 1 to 3. So like I aim for like trend directional moves as opposed to just taking like small setups. So that's why like with a lot of the trades that I take, I can see the setup happening before the trigger takes place. So I have time to place my order, and at times, like for example, we take this trade on gold today. Like I remember like when this confirmed just like around 11 p.m. my time. So this is usually when I end my trading session. So what I did was I placed my pending order.
Then yeah, we'll get out on the course. So this is very easy. Some practice. We'll probably see me on.
And then I went to the gym, right? So with something like this, like as long as I get my immediate confirmation, which is the swing high being created and the break structure being confirmed. I
don't know what your goals
my
are.
pending order goes out of recent order block, stop goes below the low, and I'm just aiming for the next unmitigated zone, right? I went to the gym, but it didn't trigger until, so it took about, so this confirmed at around 11. It didn't trigger until like 1 p.m. That's when price came down and tagged me in. So it took, 2 hours for price to tag me into this trade, right? And then after that, it then gave the move. So a lot of the time, like I can sort of like anticipate in advance what I'm looking for. So I never rush into a trade. Most of the time, it's like just okay, the setup is taking place. I place my pending order, and then after that, it's a waiting game.
Gotcha.
Love it. I love it.
Well, you were right about that anticipation of it probably moving fast right into that area, which it did. We got about 5 minutes.
Time flies with you, Richard.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're with Richard Rich.
When you're rich.
We're going to be doing 4 hours, guys. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to that.
Well, I tell you, I'm looking forward to it because, obviously I trade on a higher time frame, and until I, when I'm finally able to, when we finally start this full time,
interesting, like
I'll
how
have
our
all that
buy-side
extra time in the day that I was
not doing
focusing
so well.
elsewhere to focus on the smaller time frames, so that
well,
I'm not so
I don't know. We did have some
on
sales
the
in there that didn't do.
So
we did 2 sales that did not do well.
Yeah, it'll definitely bring about
we
more
didn't
material.
really wait, and you can see
just
what's
corner,
happening
right? So
here while we don't
very
wait. It's not looking so
Tuesday,
good.
I think. I mean, unless anything's changed, I know.
Let's see what happens here when it hits this.
On the 7th, I believe.
Order
did they move
filled.
it? Okay.
Order filled.
Yeah, the first was the last I knew, so they must have moved it out.
So that's going to be really interesting. It's also really nice working hours for me. It's like 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Till 1:30 in the afternoon.
So we're either going to get
so I'm really good to that. Hit the gym beforehand, arrive fresh, and get ready to trade.
Or we're going to get
guys, well, we got 4 minutes left here. Quickly, sorry for interrupting there, guys. So the NASDAQ has not filled my order yet. What am I actually showing? There we go. So I'm going to leave my limit order there. It's not been tested yet, and see how things go. Obviously, now we only got 4 minutes left. Doesn't look like I'm going to get filled, but it is what it is. Place the order. Got to be patient and see what happens. I'm not on again tomorrow, so I'll probably recap this on Monday again when I'm on again.
Yeah, and it looks like I'll be there with you, Richard.
Update, guys. Unfortunately, not full day, but yeah. So be it.
So be it.
Wait, so Tiger, what sessions will you be doing generally? Because I think it's the first time I've seen you in a session 1.
Yeah. So when we start the regular timing, I'll be 3:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Central time.
So you're going to do the London Opens, basically.
Pretty much.
And then I'll also be doing 8 to 10 p.m. So yeah, I'm gonna have a crazy sleep schedule.
All right,
so you're on flight today. That's pretty
bouncing
hectic.
here. We don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, like I was telling you beforehand, I've worked
down.
night shifts.
Kind of don't like
jobs, so
where this trade is going.
Yeah.
Honestly,
done it, been there, done that. Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
And then I think an hour on Sundays. So yeah, I'll be all over the place.
Nice. Yeah, so I think that starts on the 7th. Next week, we're going to be together in the mornings anyway.
Yeah.
And with Michael, I believe, which is also going to take the AM session starting on the 7th. So just to all our viewers, we thus far tentatively starting on the 7th, and things might change with the Hola Prime TV. So we really hope to see you guys there. It's going to be really interesting, jam-packed sessions from all our coaches over a considerable period of time. I think the format's probably going to work.
I wanted to press
sometimes you can't get in a trade
sell button
during
here.
an hour and a half, as is the case with me, unfortunately, today. Probably going to get fold after the session, Murphy's Law, unfortunately, but so be it. I'm willing to wait for price to come to me rather than chase it. And yeah, Walter, how's your trade going? You want to quickly show that before we sign off here?
Yeah, my screen is still shared. It's still hanging around doing its own thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just being patient. Now this is now the close of this 15 minutes candle. So that's 3 bullish candles going right into that order block. So I want to see that next 15 minutes candle ideally close as a bearish candle.
A railway track
that will give me a bit more. Yeah, a railway track downwards would be beautiful, right? But yeah, we'll see how that flows. And then gold is finally making its way towards that AOI, but I again, like just from experience and now I see this, it's probably just gonna close the day like within New York session. It's probably gonna trade within this range, and in Asia, so tomorrow morning, that's when it's gonna potentially, if it closes in this range, then it will be looking to potentially make that move to the downside today or tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and I'll probably likely close my gold position out if we can get a spike up. I don't know that I want to hold it over the weekend.
Ooh, yeah.
Can't go broke taking a profit.
There's issues globally.
You can't go broke taking a profit, sir. Exactly that. And these days, you never know, man. Like over the weekend, we could get new advancements with the whole Iran-Israel situation, where like now it's all new
over the weekend,
strikes,
right? During the work week.
Exactly. I mean, that's when politicians get bored. They're like, what? How can we spend our weekend today? I mean, go play golf, something like. Nah, let's start a war instead. I think that's gonna be more fun.
I'm glad we got out of the trade.
All right, gents, we've got to stop it there. We reached full time. To everyone watching, thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll hope to see you in the next session. Walter and Tiger, so nice being with you guys again. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Tiger, Walter, almost bedtime for you. So have a good one.
All righty.
Thank you very
Have
much.
a good one, guys. All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Sweet. Took a little bit more. We took a little bit more. A little bit more. More profits. All right. Did that just wreck that? And then we're just going to fly upward now to there? Is that what's going to happen? Let's hope so. Are we going to get ready for work, guys? Thank you for stopping in. Thank you for all the fun and excitement and joy. We're having amazing, awesome times. I believe in everything that you guys are doing. There can only be so much we could do. We hope our trades go amazing. We hope your trades go amazing. Let's just make this happen. And let's close out in the prayer. Thank you, Father, for all of your help today. We are in some trades. We did take some crazy trades, but that's okay. We're not really worried about all of that. We are just on the prop firm. But anyways, we just ask for your help in the rest of our day, rest of our week, and safety in travels, especially during rush hour, on the way to work, rush hour on the way back. We do have some stuff that we, physically we have to do, lift some stuff. We're helping somebody unpack a pinball machine after work, a buddy of mine. So just pray that we just don't get injured there. In his name, amen. Let's go. Boom.